feel grounded. Peace, love, and light. Peace, love, and light. I'm playing the theta frequencies in the background just to, ground things out a minute. I'm gonna play the singing bowl, and we're gonna go ahead and start with libations tonight also, in devotion. Tonight's episode is a Metaphysical Monday that's taking place on Tuesday. I'm having some connection issues. It's saying it's a slow connection, but I'm gonna keep pushing through. It was like that last time. Tonight we're looking at the spiritual and revolutionary powers of Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman is one of my favorite icons when you want to talk about slavery. One of my favorite women when you want to talk about, just the evolutionary powers that was with this woman, the revolutionary mindset, the love for her people. Harriet Tubman, I can't really think of nobody else that I know that, that's in our history that has, risked so much and sacrificed so much for the greater good of other people. I mean, obviously it was other people, we got Nat Turner, shout out to, all of the revolutionaries that have lost their life during the Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement and so forth. But I'm about to get started. I want to first apologize to my viewers, to the people that truly rock with the Soul Jet Healing community. I have nothing but love for the support that you guys have given me through the ups, through the downs, through my inconsistencies. And I'm sorry I didn't come on last night, but I did have some things that came up. And I'm also doing a lot of spiritual work. I went to Atlanta. I kind of got a little bit off my program a little bit. So, I've been trying to rest, I've been resting. And, it's time for me to get back to it. I don't know how long I'm going to be, because I need to kind of make a plan for Metaphysical Monday, and make a plan for Tarot Talk Thursday, and just for my classes and things that I haven't had a chance to really get to, because everything is just moving in a way that I don't even have control over it. The spirit is in control, and I'm allowing myself to be used by that force. So with that being said, it's even hard to make plans right now with all of this uncertain energy. Even with me being a reader and seeing things, spirit is just saying, trust the process, but I know that I had to do what I had to do as a labor of love, as a rite of passage, as a way of giving back. So I continue impressed on with Metaphysical Monday and with Tarot Talk Tuesday, through the good and the bad, and just things that was happening behind the scenes that people couldn't even see and still can't see, However, it's time to evolve, and I don't know where anything's going yet. I just know right now we're pressing forward. I'm going to have guests next week. I'm supposed to have a couple is coming on. We talked about couples. We've been talking about heart chakras and, talking about self-love, self-maintenance, speaking about, relationships and just different things like that. So I'm going to continue on that vein. But tonight I wanted to pay homage to Black History Month. And I'm speaking on Sister Mother Harriet Tubman. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the devotion for the night. We're going to do some singing bowl energy, and I'm going to start the libation. Okay, so I'm going to actually start with the singing bowl. Okay? I got a little cold, so please forgive me. I'm going to go ahead we can take deep breaths. Hold it. And release, okay? Take another deep breath. Hold it and release. And again, another deep breath. Hold it and release. Now you can do the same with the singing bowl. I just felt like we just needed to do a little extra grounding because of the energies tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the singing bowl, and you can again breathe when I hit it, hold it, and release, okay? more time. And I may do a little light singing with it too, just to do some more calming. Doing what he want to do right now. His frequencies will be high if I allow him to play in this vein, so I'm going to hit the bowl again. You should be able to feel the frequencies now. I can make it chime louder, but I don't want to raise it too high. Just focus on what you like to release and let it go. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and start with our prayers. Hey, Kesey, how are you, brother? Long time no see. So I'm reading out of my Yoruba Bible. Well, a book that I use a lot for my spiritual work. This is an ancestor prayer. And I may need to turn this down just a slight bit. Let's go ahead and give devotion. Think of your own ancestors. Think of all of the energies that we may pay homage to that support us in some type of way. I give praise to God. I give praise to the owner of heaven. I give praise to the place where heaven is. I give praise to the Orishas in heaven. I give praise to the place of light. I give praise to the dwellers of heaven. I give praise to the earth. I give praise to the waters. I give praise to the fire. I give praise to the wind. I give praise to my roots and my beginnings. I give praise, raise, and lift up all. I give praise to the ancestors we have lost. I give praise to the Iyami in their wisdom. I give praise to the Babalawo who sits on the right side of God, which is the priest. I give praise to the Babalawo who sits on the left side of God. I give reverence to the father figure. I give reverence to the mother figure. I give reverence for the one who comes to see. I give praise to the one who sits and watches. I give reverence to the one who has the knowledge of divining. I give reverence to the one who makes the knowledge of divining work. I give praise to my ancestors and to all ancestors. I give reverence to the mother of Orishas. I give praise and reverence to the father of Orishas. Ashe, love and light. And also think about your own ancestors and who you'd like to give praise to, who you'd like to lift up. And so we're going to go ahead and begin our libation. Another thing where, wrong waters. I'm going to go ahead and put the vessel here. So before I make the libation, I guess it's important because I can't just make an assumption that everybody knows what libation is. So libation is a tradition that, comes all the way from Africa, it comes from the ancients. And it's a way to pay homage to the dead. And what's so deep about that is because, brothers in the hood who didn't even have all of this knowledge about our history, they already innately, it was already passed down to pour out a little liquor, you know what I mean? Or pour out the beer, or pour out the libation for the homies or the friends or the family that's no longer here. So we do that in reverence to the ancestors, and it is said that when we speak our name, they continue to live, okay? That's the young and old ancestors. I wanted to start with Harriet's ancestors because I want to give praise and ask for permission or pay homage, I already got permission, but we want to honor Harriet Tubman, Moses, Black Moses, Minty, Arminta Ross, all of the names she went by. We never will forget your contributions to what you did for the world, for Americans, for Black people, and what you did for the spirit world. Ashe. That's to Harriet Tubman. We need to give her a big ovation, okay? To her mother, who gave her the fighting and courageous spirit. We give honor to the original Harriet O. Rick Green Ross, Ashe. To Ben Ross, her father, Ashe. She has quite a bit of siblings. To her grandmother, Modesty, Ashe. And then we'll go into the siblings. To her sibling, her sister, Sophia, Ashe. Lena, Ashe. Mariah Riddy, Ashe. Rachel, Ashe. Her brother, Robert. Ben, Henry, Moses, Ashe. To her nieces, Harriet, that's another Harriet, and to Kizzy Ajali, I give homage to my grandmother, Daisy, to my grandmother, Ella B. Gallion, to Joseph Gallion, my grandfather, to my grandfather, Henry, to my great-grandmother, Nene, to my other great-grandmother, Idel Rougeau, Beulah Guidry, all great-grandparents, to my great-grandfather, Yayi, Henry, Henri, all of the great-grands that I don't know. Oh, Papa, Ashe, Love Light. Anybody else just think, about who you like to pay homage to, and say it out loud, okay? So these are for any ancestors that we may have missed, known and unknown. Ashe, 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 okay? Yeah, thanks. We got the spirit going. I got the ancestors candles also running. Thank you for tuning in. Whoever's tapped in will be tapped in. Tapped in now. Ooh, that was full. That was full. Okay, so what this bill is about tonight is, of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about Harriet Tubman and a little bit about her life. But this is more about her bloodline and the type of energy that she worked with, her metaphysical knowledge, and just the way the spiritual energy surrounded her, and how she used both the spiritual technology along with revolutionary. She was a revolutionary too. A lot of people don't understand that those things, they actually work quite well together. Understanding what's going on spiritually around you, what's going on in nature, and also taking action. And that would be the revolutionary part. So the first thing is, I look at Harriet Tubman, I've been looking at this spiritual thing with her for quite a while. Once I got knowledge of the third eye and all these other things, it started with that accident that she had, that, cracked her skull, and I kept thinking about that, damn, she had these visions and stuff, there's something deep with this sister, it was something that was with her, and I felt like that accident caused, it gave her the ability to use more range of her third eye than, most of us can use. So that's where it kind of started at for me. But I just feel like she was an elite slave, if that makes sense. It was just something like her life was charmed already. Her and her family, just the way the whole layout was, the things she overcame at such a young age, and just who her mother and who her father was, who she was on the plantation, or who her mother and father was on the plantation, the respect they had, the fact that she knew her grandmother, the fact that she knew where she came from. All of that is really, is major and is very unique. In the sense of slavery, is very unique. Everybody didn't have that type of ability to know their ancestors and to know to be there with their grandmother and just different things like that. Now, clearly, she wasn't there all the time because Harriet was hired out. But I wanted to start with what's in the name, because when I said that she lived a charmed life, Harriet, the first thing was in the name. Her name is Arminta Ross. That's her first name. That's her original name. She later took on the name Harriet after her mother. Okay, so the name Arminta is a Greek name, and it means vindicator. It means the defender, and also the name Minty, which was short for Arminta, and they called her Minty. So Minty was A name that said you give to your daughter and you can inspire her to be of good courage and to stand up for what they believe in. So just that, and planting that seed as that being her name early on, because we have forgotten that as a culture, the names that you give your children are very important to like how their destiny can turn out. Just certain frequencies and hardships that could be around them are positive energy based on the frequency of a name. So just that alone, she was already called out for what she was supposed to do since birth, being a vindicator, being a defender. And then later she adopted the name Harriet, and Harriet represents home ruler. It means home ruler. And just the name Harriet itself in her family line, there was 4 Harriets. There was 4 people that had a derivative of the name Harriet in her family. First, her mother name was Harriet, which they called her Old Rit. But she was the big Harriet, a very strong, courageous woman, well respected, you know, a renowned healer, which they don't even really speak on when they teaching us about, you know, this story with Harriet Tubman. She had a daughter that she named Harriet. She named her Mariah Ritty, which is a derivative of Harriet Ritty. And then she had a granddaughter with the name Harriet, and then Harriet Tubman herself took on the name Harriet. So just in those, just that little short bloodline is 4 Harriets, you know. And her mother was a home ruler because, like I said, she was well respected on the plantation. And she's one of the people that instilled so much courageousness into Harriet. You know, to the point that when Harriet seen her move and her mother's motion, that's when she decided to take on the name and call herself Harriet. So anyway, Harriet was born between 1820 and 1822. I've seen different sources, so I can't say, you know, which one is which. I think this is interesting. She was born, they say about in the month of March. So we do know this, because I remember we talking about also the metaphysical aspects. So here's something fun. She was either an Aries or she was a Pisces. Harriet Tubman was either an Aries or she was a Pisces. I'll let y'all figure that out, like what energy she mostly aligned with. Because, you know, she did some courageous stuff. You know, hey D. But, and I, you know, what's funny? The people that's online that I can see right now are actually Aries and Pisces, you know. She could have even been on the cusp of Aries and Pisces, but we do know that she was one of those signs, okay? Her father was Ben Ross. Her mother is Harriet Green Ross. And then she has a grandmother whose name was Modesty. I don't know why they do the science on Ben. It just sounds so, you know, slavish. I didn't even think to look at, because it's really Benjamin, and that's a powerful name as well, but I don't remember exactly what Benjamin means. But her grandmother name was Modesty. And I thought Modesty was an interesting name. Looking that name up, it's, of course, it deals with being modest, without conceit, humility, fairness, and a lack of pretension, which, you know, I don't know what kind of character Modesty had. I'm assuming she was a woman from Ghana. So I'm assuming that her character was really strong. I mean, just the fact that Harriet even knew those things, like my grandmother's from Ghana, you know, my grandmother came here on ships, you know, whatever. I thought that was really fascinating. But Modesty, regardless to what kind of woman she was, as far as if she was a rebellious or a person that, you know, was humble, she was able to be with her daughter. She was able to see her daughter get married. She was able to see her daughter have 9 children and make it off the plantation. So sometimes I guess being modest isn't a bad thing. You know, everybody got to play the roles they play. Everybody's not the Harriet of the family, right? But whatever the case, I'm sure Modesty was keen because, like I said, her mother was a renowned healer, you know, very courageous. She was also the cook of the plantation. So, you know, she was well respected, which is probably why she was able to do some of the things. Well, you know, the act that I'm going to speak on in a little bit, the incident that changed Harriet, you know, and I guess I can go into it now. Because we already started talking about Rit, or Old Rit. When I speak about Old Rit, I'm speaking of Harriet's mother. I'm going to refer to her as Rit or Old Rit. And I'm speaking of Harriet's mother, okay? So like I said, she was a renowned healer. But there was a certain incident with old Rit and Mr. Brodus that inspired Harriet to have a lot of courage. I would even say that that's probably around the time she changed her name, or maybe when she was, about to start rebelling. But basically the incident that changed, or inspired Harriet, other than what Nat Turner did. Harriet was young then, like maybe 10, so she was really young when Nat Turner did his rebellion. Now what's interesting is my birthday connection with these dates. My birthday is connected to some of the most craziest energies on, that's happened here in America. My birthday is September the 17th, and September the 17th was the day, like, I guess Nat Turner was already doing his thing, cutting up, but they put a price on his head on September 17th, like years before Harriet Tubman. And then the day that Harriet Tubman decided to, go on the lam and run away, it was on my birthday in 1849. I was born 130 years later. Even the day that the Civil War started, or the start of it, the stuff with Robert E. Lee, that also happened on September 17th. So I don't know what that says to who I am and my character and what energy I'm, but we here to change some shit, So anyway, she had caught word, Harriet's mother caught word that they were, planning on selling her son. Some of this stuff that I talk about, you guys may already know, but since we paying homage, we just going over it again, and also speaking of some other aspects. How you doing, Queen? Sister Elaine, Mama? So anyway, so they were planning on selling. They had already sold off some, and I'm skipping around because, like I said, this isn't a documentary or a biography about Harriet Tubman. There's certain specific things that I want to build on. So they were speaking about, selling her son, her youngest son. They had already sold Lena and Rachel and Soph. They had already sold 3 of her sisters. They was, trying to sell everybody off. Harriet's tired of it. It's just a lot going on here, so she's saying her prayers but the mother in particular, when she heard about it, it was like she refused. Like, they not gonna take my son. They already done took my daughters. And so she had the little boy like hiding throughout the plantation, other slaves hiding them and, different stuff like that. And they finally, I guess, the owner finally came with this little potential buyer, and they approached her cabin house, and she had like this 2x4, and she like, I heard y'all was coming, for my boy or whatever, but if y'all cross over this threshold, anybody put their hand on my child, I'm gonna bust your head wide open with this 2x4, and they backed up. I mean, that's unbelievable. They actually backed up, and the potential buyer decided not to buy Harriet's brother because he didn't even want, the smoke with, he didn't want the smoke with the slaves and all that. And I find that interesting in itself, because what kind of power or frequency was with this woman? What kind of power did she have that a slave owner and a potential buyer would actually back up, from a slave, and she got away with that? But at the same time, that was only like, buying time, because in reality, he was selling some of his good slaves off because he had money problems. As a matter of fact, this whole little situation was a mess. Now, I did speak on that because that did inspire Harriet, but going back to her parents and everything, how they met and all of this stuff. So they were owned by 2 different families, and the families actually, oh wow, Robert E. Lee. that is so awesome. You have so many stories, Sister Elaine. I can't wait till you can come on and build on that. Build on some of the stuff that you've shared and that you've experienced. But anyway, so they were living on 2 different plantation, houses, and the families basically, the lady that owned Harriet's mother and the grandmother, she inherited these slaves through her grandfather. She was married to another man, Brodus, and then it was just a mess, like who owns this person and all of that. And then she married a man named Anthony Thompson, who owned Ben Ross, and her and Ben Ross met in that way. They got married, had 9 children, which is Harriet and her siblings. Okay. So, after the man or the husband, Ben Ross, turned 45, his master actually left him property. He left him his house. He gave him his freedom, and they call that, he was 45 years old, and it's called, manumission. And manumission is when, the owner gives freedom or grants freedom to his slave. Now, he did put in a stipulation that the wife should also be, also freed and his wife and everything. But like I said, it was so much mess, like a mess with who owns who and what and property and people doing stuff that they didn't have permission to do, like certain family members that for whatever reason, Harriet's mother's wasn't honored. So she had to continue to be a slave. Meanwhile, back on the ranch, when Harriet was little, they renting her out here and there and stuff. But later on, she did get to actually go back to the family house and work side by side with her father. Now, her father, once he was no longer a slave, he worked in the wood business. He was an entrepreneur. Again, this is an elite family, okay? They doing stuff that other slaves, that many slaves wasn't even privy to. So he has a timber business, and he's working with the mariners out of Baltimore, and they're sending timber up the Baltimore waterways, and he's out there building ships. So he's making meager money, not a lot, but he doing his thing. He eventually bought his wife's freedom. Now the waterways and the mariners and all of that, navigating through the woods and stuff. That's how Harriet learned to be such a skilled scout when it comes to navigating through the woods and marsh wetlands and stuff, because that's what her dad was already doing. And she learned how to navigate certain courses from being around the mariners, the marine people. So she was learning, already learning things and learning how to track and scout from back then. I mean, she always had the mindset, because I read a lot of books on Harriet Tubman and a lot of research. One of the books I wish I could have found is a children's book called Minty, and they actually speak a lot about her early childhood. She kind of had an adventurous spirit. She was always kind of, you want to say, rebellious or mischievous. She broke rules. She took whippings. She laughed at certain things, like they calling her and she's hiding, and just different little stuff. So she didn't really do well in the house. She did have her time in the house, but she was more, fit for the field, which she preferred. She preferred the field because she could work on the side of her siblings, and she could, be with the other slaves that she was inspired by, and she can see, she could check it out because she already had her eyes at that young age on how the hell we gonna get out of here. That was the mindset already. She was already ready to avenge. But so anyway, that's a little bit about her father. It's really more about her father too, because her parents had certain gifts. They were very spiritual, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Harriet's mother and father. Her mother was a renowned herbalist or renowned healer. She had knowledge of roots. As a matter of fact, when Harriet got a lot of spankings. She got a lot of beatings. And I guess you could say because she had more of a rebellious nature, or a nature of she just kind of did her thing. She might have been an Aries. Now that we bringing that into the picture, she could have damn well been an Aries, because we're talking about March. She's either Aries or a Pisces. But she was always, getting, doing her thing, getting into something, doing it her way. Or if she sees something she feels oppressed, then she's gonna free it. Like when she was in charge of waiting to see when the muskrats bite the traps. She was over there freeing the muskrats because she couldn't stand to see anything in prison. So that was her mindset. So she was, more fit, like I said, for being in the field or being outside. So let me see what I wanted to go into. Now, the spiritual gifts. So Ben, her father, like I said, the mother did the cooking and stuff. So she was already a kitchen alchemist and, a healer. That's where Harriet gets some of the knowledge of herbs and stuff. But her daddy was also keen because he predict dreams. He did dream predictions, and he also knew how to predict the weather just by sticking his finger in the air. They said the master would come to him to ask about certain weather predictions in order for him to plant his crops or how you think the weather gonna be and all of that. So these people were, and I spoke on this aspect because I'm a spiritualist and I believe in awakening of spirit. This is who we are. A lot of us have different gifts, but it's not to be afraid of. It's not to shun. To be honest, it was Harriet's spiritual gifts that really led her to freedom. It led her and a lot of other people to freedom because she was very keen in the depths, and that comes from her family, her mother. She knew her grandmother, Modesty, and I'm sure Modesty also had keen gifts, you know, being an Ashanti woman, you know. But anyway, so her parents were well respected in that sense of their healing abilities, the ability to predict the weather. That was with the father. And honestly, because he worked in the marshlands, he was always out there, you know, and, you know, so a lot of her gifts, they started developing at a young age. The first thing with Harriet Tubman, going into her gifts, because I said her spiritual gifts led her to freedom, and also her revolutionary spirit. And a part of the spirit of revolution was this little girl was very brave. This was a brave little girl. I mean, when I was talking about her setting the muskrat traps, she was about 7 years old. She was 7 years old. I mean, really just think about that. A 7-year-old little girl going into marsh wetlands with water up to here, setting muskrat traps. And also going back in there to unset them. Because like I said, she was, you know, she was about that mischief. She was taking them damn things loose and letting the muskrats go free, you know, and she caught beatings for that. Another thing that I thought was amazing with a little girl that young is her ability to sleep while being conscious. See, that's a form of channeling. And for a little girl to put a little body through that, when she was little, you know, she had to babysit, or she was in charge. This is when she still worked in the house. She had to watch the baby. You know, I think it was Miss Brodus's baby or somebody they might have rented her out to, but she had to be in charge of this baby. And her job was to make sure this baby didn't cry and wake up the mother who wanted to sleep or whatever. And sometimes they'll be out at parties or just whatever. But Harriet wasn't allowed to fall asleep, which is damn near impossible, right? The little girl is so exhausted. But if that baby was to cry or wake up, or the mother hears that baby, Harriet would get a beating. So she trained her little self that young to sleep with her eyes, like her eyes are closed, she's resting, but she's still awake, where she can hear a pin drop. You know, so even that ended up serving her later with, you know, navigating through the woods and being able to train herself, you know, in that way. And that's deep. You know, a little girl just, you know, that means she's not really even sleeping. She's channeling, you know, she's hearing everything around her, you know. But like I said, the house wasn't really her thing. Now, another situation that, let me see if there's anything I wanted to look at before we go in there. Oh yeah, the father was also not just a timber guy. He was a skilled woodsman. So he was also a craftsman. Like I said, she comes from a gifted stock. Okay, so another thing that I thought was amazing with Harriet is that after her head injury, that one, the head injury thing is really big. You know, now Brother Tashaka, shout out to Brother Tashaka, shout out to Kenwardo. Brother Tashaka got a different version because they live in the Maryland, DC area, you know, and there's like a woman that Brother Tashaka met that I think she had, like, I don't know if she was connected to the general store or just some people that might have been connected to Harriet. But this story is told in a couple of different ways with the situation with the head injury when the boy was running, trying to run out the store, and they told Harriet to hold the boy. And then she got hit in the head because she didn't stop him. I don't really know all of the details because, like I said, I heard it happened, you know, in a couple of ways. I don't know. From what I understood, it was an accident that she got hit in the head. You know, like she got hit, but the hit was supposed to be for the boy. So whether it was something done on purpose or it was the accident, it changed her whole entire chemistry. It changed her molecular structure in a way. It cracked her skull, and it cracked a very pivotal part of her head, you know, here in the front, which we've seen the scar, and we, you know, that's what she's marked by. That was one of her markings when they're looking for her, right? But after she had this head injury, we all know about it triggered these sleeping spells. But sometimes, you know, she could be asleep for weeks to months, you know, sleeping spells, you know, sometimes just falling out at any given time, which I think is also unbelievable, because how in the hell was she on this Underground Railroad with these sleeping spells and she could just fall out at any time? You know, did her training with Miss Brodus, and training herself to sleep while, you know, be up while sleeping, did that help her, you know, to be able to, because they said when she's in this sleeping spell, that she can hear everything around her still, you know, maybe not the entire time, I don't know, but it's saying that she could actually still be conscious of what's going on around her, but she's in a space where she's seeing these deep visions. And, you know, and as a spiritualist, you know, that's why I was so drawn to it. As a spiritualist, my head has never been cracked, you know, but I do understand possession. I do understand spirit invocation, because it's happened to me many times. And it's not in the way of Harriet, but it's an interesting energy, because what it actually feels like, and I've managed to explain it to you guys before. I'm a real spiritualist. When that spirit falls on you, and I don't know if that's what happens to people in church or people catching the Holy Ghost, or when you know, dealing with these different, you know, literally activating the spirit, it almost feels like something is just coming behind you and covering your eyes up, but your eyes are still open, but you're looking through your third eye because you can't see anything, but you can begin to see, and you do see visions, and you can hear things that surround you. Sometimes your movements are paralyzed, or they may move in ways that you can't control, but you're very much conscious of what's going on. And the thing is the people around you conscious? Because I've been in situations where the people around me didn't even see what I was going through. It was like I was covered spiritually. But Harriet Tubman's situation was even more miraculous, because it was triggered, almost like her crown, her brow chakra was forced open. It was almost like forced open, where we're trying to channel all these things. But that's also why it was not able to be controlled. She didn't really have control over it. And I think, you know, and I'm just making a speculation, you know, because of how the injury took place, but I do feel that God was with her, because one thing that can't be denied, you know, they didn't know she had narcolepsy, or what's that other one? I gotta make sure I'm pronouncing it right. It's temporal lobe epilepsy. You know, the doctors really didn't know. She did have cranial surgery later, in years later, but one thing that can't be denied is her visions never failed her. You know, so it had to be definitely something with her to see things that's never been seen, she's never seen before, to get information she's never heard before, to see events before they take place, to have never gotten caught on her route, you know what I'm saying, to not lose any passengers. I mean, this sister had a lot working for her, and people just, you know, they may just see it in their head like, oh yeah, she freed the slaves, and you know, but it's some deep shit going on, and I'm not done yet. I'm not done with the metaphysical aspects of slavery and Harriet Tubman's journey, you know, but we have to really think on that. I mean, we losing a lot of our abilities, and people want to call it hocus pocus and scariness. It's time to reawaken. It's time to reawaken. This is why we can't get what her revolution was successful. Everybody can't say that. Everybody can't say that. They got people marching around like ants doing the death spiral and shit. Her shit was successful. So don't be so quick to discount spirituality. No more than she counted out the revolution. I mean, this chick was already ready. She was already hardcore. She already understood the woods and how to navigate. You know what I mean? She carried a gun anyway. She had the Bible and the gun. She couldn't even read. Still had the Bible and the gun. And her innate spirituality. Because all of those things, clearly she couldn't even read the Bible. So these are spiritual gifts that's coming from the inside, that's leading and guiding her. And she used the Bible as a blueprint. And all of those scriptures and things that we should use as a blueprint. But never stop allowing the energy, the information to come through. And if you can't get the information, be welcome and open to other information that's coming through. Because there's real live mysteries that we've been blocked from out of our own fear. There's real live answers that we're still looking for, that we've been blocked out of our innate fear. And if somebody in the 1800s, they understanding how to work these things, defy the law, and not get caught. I mean, come on, man. I mean, this is a female. We're not even talking about men. We're talking about a woman. You know, and that makes a lot of people tight. It makes a lot of people tight. They try to dismiss the visions and shit and just want to talk about, you know, all of this other stuff. But it's not to be dismissed, because that is documented. It is written. The experiences, that Harriet had. It is written. It is written, you know, and it was never inaccurate. She was right on point and on time with her information and her visions. Clearly, she's never been caught, even with prices on her head. Okay? And she did use that gun as a revolutionary. Because if I need to shoot y'all to freedom, because y'all ain't in y'all right mind anyway. Y'all too damn scared. Y'all still operating on that same damn fear. Y'all operating on fear. Harriet was like, no, we're not having that. We can't have it. We already, come on. See, that's what Kanye was talking about when he said, and everybody got mad about it. But I'm going to keep saying that shit. Everybody got mad when Kanye said it was a choice to be a slave. And that's because the thinking was so limited. You didn't go deep. So you didn't go deep enough. Because Nat Turner tried it too. And it was people that actually sold Nat Turner out. So was that a choice or a bad decision? The people selling each other out. We just talked about that the other day on the podcast. Every time you're trying to do the right thing or something that you think is good for the whole, there's always somebody that tries to work against it. So she had to have a revolutionary spirit or they would have messed it up for everybody. You know? So then I'm going to go to the next thing. Harriet Tubman also had a gift the same gift that her one thing I forgot to say about her dad. He was also the person that prayed on the plantation or say divine intentions. When the master gets sick and all of this stuff, Big Ben was one of the people that they called on to do the prayers and to, you know, speak them divine intentions, speak life back into the dying subject. Okay, so Harriet Tubman also possessed those gifts, and I'm sure her mother had it too, because these people were keen. Like I said, the slaves were a lot sharper than people give them credit for on the innate tip. They might have not been able to read and all of that shit, but they was keen and sharp on the innate tip. If you want to be real about it, the word hip, when we say hip hop or that's hip comes from the plantation. Hip means to be in the know, so they was always hip. You know, just like they didn't have telephones and all of this other stuff, but they still had even the boat technology. They was getting information from ships and getting information from elsewhere and bringing it back to the land place, to the rest of the people. And I don't mean just in America, I mean on all of the coasts. So there's a lot of information and news and stuff being spread. So they was more hip than people give them credit for. Now we're going into the spoken word piece. Harriet Tubman had another gift. She had the gift of prayer and divine intentions. She was a prayer warrior. I mean, that's what the church would call her. She was tapped deeply into her belief in God and the higher power. She could not read, remember now, and she still stood by the Old Testament, even without being able to read. She connected to the Old Testament, not the New Testament. She felt like the Old Testament spoke more to the condition that black people were in, and she likened it to, you know, slavery in Egypt and with Pharaoh. And so she, you know, I don't know how she was hearing it. Maybe somebody was reading it, but she knew certain scriptures. She knew those scriptures. She knew certain ones, and I'm almost sure of it. Being a prayer warrior, she made her own prayers too, and she did, because the first prayer that she prayed was for, you know, she wasn't, and every time I would hone into this part of the story, it seemed like people would get quiet. Like this is the part they couldn't handle. And I'm not talking about my conscious brothers and sisters. I'm speaking to the average Negro and the average white person. You know, they was like, they get quiet when you talk about Nat Turner. They get quiet when you talk about this spiritual energy that Harriet possessed. But there's no denying this either, because it is written and documented. Harriet was making a prayer. She spoke about she wanted the master to change his heart because he was cutting up. This is once he started to sell everybody off, and you know, he doing what he got to do, I guess, but it's detrimental to her. This is when she made that decision, you know, to give me liberty, give me death, or give me freedom, give me death, give me liberty, give me death. And that's the Kanye decision that I'm talking about. People scared to fight, people scared to die even. You can only die once. But I'm talking about it when they talk about war and we at war and all of that, you know, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a soldier dies but one. But see, when you make the right moves at the right time, you know, you may actually get that victory you're looking for. When you put the right energy and the right frequency behind it, instead of being so quick or acting on emotions. You got to be a war strategist, a real war strategist. You got to think before acting and really look at what's realistic. And I would definitely say this woman was a strategist. Whatever the case, she was praying a prayer that the master changed his heart, and he didn't. I think that's when he went after her brother. He had already sold his sisters, So then she prayed that if you can't change his heart, that you kill him, right? So I think a day or two later, I don't know how many days, but it wasn't long after. A day later, he was dead. The man that dropped dead. Now, he could have had health conditions or whatever, but it ain't even about that. It's the fact that she put a frequency out there. She asked the spirit to move him out the way. So even back in those times, she knew how to change the frequency. She believed in her prayers so much, even without being able to read a Bible or read scriptures. She believed in what she had so much, she was able to make those types of changes. When she was shifting frequencies, even on the plantation, and people are telling me that they can't do this right now with all we have. Something wrong with it, That's why I brought up Harriet's spirit. And I give thanks that she's here and she's present with us tonight in spirit. Her and her brothers and her sisters and her grandmother and her mama and her daddy are in there giving me the energy to even give this, because it was very hard. It was taking so much out of me because there's so many layers to it. And I know people waiting to see what I'm going to say, and, just all these different things, but it don't even matter because, like I said, this ain't a documentary. I ain't putting all of the facts and years and dates out there. I'm putting a little bit out there, but it's too much. What I want to give is the spirit of the revolutionary acts and the metaphysical knowledge and just the innate ability that Harriet had to move shit. You know what I'm saying? I want to pay homage to that. Even if it's things you heard before, I want to pay homage to that in Black History Month. Okay? So we know she can change her environment. And she did feel bad. They say Harriet was feeling real bad. Like, oh God, I killed him. But not so much of the fact that she killed him. But she was afraid of the prayer getting found out that somebody else, because I think the young master kind of knew she was saying some kind of odd ass prayer. He might even heard her. But I think they might have showed something like that in the movie. I don't know how true that was, but she was afraid that they would find out that was her prayer. Because, Black people, we ain't really coming with, we just want to be, they got evil Black people, don't get it twisted, but our natural spirit wasn't to be evil and to do all, to do all of these bad things to white people. It was survival. It was to have security in a desperate situation, because we did a lot of great things for white people. So it wasn't like we just all against them. I mean, raising their babies and nursing their children, over nursing our own children, and, doing a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to talk about on this live. But whatever the case, it is what it is. She was like, by any means necessary. And her mama both, like the mother who had 2x4 and was ready to hit, Master in the head and bust his head open. They the first ones, her and Harriet, fuck around and find out. That's that fuck around and find out energy, But anyway, the last thing I wanted to hone on with her metaphysical knowledge was the North Star Polaris. Harriet had knowledge of the stars. And not just Harriet, a lot of the slaves, they didn't know how to read, but they knew how to read the sky. They was taught how to read the sky. Now, whether this was something, I'm sure it was passed on by the ancestors, because that's all they had. We're not dealing with not even many books then, like now, but we dealing with slaves who didn't read. They had books, obviously, but they weren't accessible to slaves who couldn't read. Now, some slaves, they did what they did, broke laws and was taught how to read. Some of them weren't. But for the most part, that's why I preach and speak on how sacred and how important astrology and astronomy was. Because to the Black person, the Black American back then, even, I don't know how the Native Americans probably knew a lot about how to navigate the land of the Aboriginal people because they were here, but the North Star was everything. The North Star, which is Polaris. They had to have knowledge of not just the North Star, but of Ursa Major. Ursa Major is the star system where the Big Dipper, or the drinking gourd, they call it the drinking gourd, and the Little Dipper too, because the North Star kind of sat, in that fold. And it wasn't anything special about the North Star, like it wasn't the brightest, because it's actually the 50th brightest in the sky from my research. One source said 46th brightest star in the sky. It wasn't really big. As a matter of fact, they said it's actually a cluster of 3 small stars. That's the North Star. But it was special because it shined brightly all the way through, winter season, in the late winter, all the way through the springtime. So that was her everything. That was her guiding light. That was her roadmap. And, we can't deny that, her walking with the stars. That's what she did. She did it all, and it's just so unbelievable to me that, she could just have all of these things working for her. And when you want to go into astrology, and I don't even know if I want to go into that tonight, but I did pull up the astrology chart from 1822. I pulled up around the time she was born. I pulled up March, and then I pulled up 1849 in September, like around, September 17th, September 14th. At that time, I know a lot of people don't, necessarily are into astrology like that. So that could be another live or something, but it was like a time where Mars was sextile in Venus. She had a lot of Mars and Venus energy lining up. So it was in her favor in that way. There was Mars in Gemini. Aries was in his home, and Aries is the planet of war. Uranus was also sitting in Aries. And when you got Uranus is about revolutionary changes, shaking up shit, breaking the law. Saturn was real big too, because Saturn is about keeping this shit in place. But the energy of Uranus, the energy of Mars, the energy of Gemini, the energy of Venus and Mars working together, all of those things were working for her. That's why it's so important to understand the way the flow of life and the stars are going. She had a lot of stuff working for her because it was just time. It was just time. I mean, it was damn near at the end of this long period anyway. And it was just really, really time. So she had the stars going for her. She had the dreams going for her. She had the ability to navigate and scout going for her. So, I can't push enough how it's important for us to be in tune with the gifts. And it's probably even more. If y'all can think of anything more that Harriet Tubman did that was metaphysical. Oh yeah. She also had knowledge of roots. She had knowledge of the herbs. These babies be on missions with them and stuff. She had a way to make these babies stop crying. She knew what to give them to make them fall asleep. There was another root that I was trying to get the name of, but I can't pronounce it, so I couldn't spell it. It started with an A. I kind of pronounced it, but when I say it into the phone, it comes out totally wrong. But it starts with an A. And it was a herb because, people tend to forget a lot of these African slaves and also Native American people, they had some hell of a tonics and medicines and things they created. A lot of the Africans actually brought roots and seeds and things over. They brought that shit over in necklaces and all kind of stuff in order to have what they needed. So there was a medicine cabinet during slavery. Maybe people don't know that, but and many of us do know that because we had those same kind of workers in our families. Some of us have those same abilities. We had grandmothers and great grandmothers with that same ability. And I'm speaking to this because this is a woman that was successful in her journey. She was a successful revolutionary. She was a successful slave. When Harriet took these journeys, she was a young woman. You get what I mean? And she lived a long life. She was honored by the country that deemed her a criminal. This woman had some kind of frequency with her that's just off the chart. It's off the freaking chart. She knew how to attract, even through her dreams, the right white people. They say, get you some good white people. She couldn't do it all on her own or just with black people. She had the right frequencies, regardless of why they decided to do it, because everybody has an agenda. White people was already in their own war. They already had their own issues with all of their different religious beliefs and political political mindsets going against each other and all of that in these colonies and fighting for power and all of that. So whatever it was, it worked in her favor. And that's why it's all about having the right frequency and understanding who's for you and who's against you. Because her own husband was ready to sell her out. Her own husband, when they had Quakers and shit helping her on her mission, her own black ass husband, he couldn't wait for her to turn her back. He seen a woman on a mission, and instead of empowering his wife, he couldn't wait for her to turn her back to go jump in the bed with another woman, and then tried to turn her into the authorities. I mean, come on. And God was still with this woman, even with a price on her head. You get what I'm saying? We got to raise those frequencies. And we got to start with that healing, you know, because whatever she was going through, and she had like some hard shit going on, she was able to still have that courage, that willpower, that inner strength to shift her frequency to the point where this woman was not only a slave that comes from, like I said, an elite slave family, because these people was off the chart. Her family was powerful in the spirit. That's why really they was untouchable. Yeah, they went through hard times. Yeah, some of them got separated, but the core of her family really did stay together. This is a person that can say, I freed my parents and my grandmother. I mean, who get to say that? I mean, I don't get this woman's life. It's off the chart. And people just tend to sweep it. But it's so many aspects to what was going on then. Harriet Tubman was a nurse. Harriet Tubman was a spy. She still was fighting in the Civil War, still fighting for the liberation of black people, black minds too. She said she could have freed more slaves. She freed 300, but she could have freed 300 more, however many she freed. That people jump with those numbers too. So I don't, but however many she freed, she could have freed even more had they known they were slaves. So these same issues that we fighting about right now, these same mindsets, that stuff was done. They was dealing with those same conversations on the plantation. The same stuff that was going on through the civil rights era. The same thing that was going through the 70s and the 80s and all of our movements. Having these same discussions. Because there's too many chains on the brain. Too many people in their comfort zone. You know, and I'm not even suggesting that we all go out and be revolutionary in that way and we need to carry guns. You do what you need to do for yourself. But what I am saying is that revolution starts in your mind. It starts with a mindset. It starts with an energy of you deciding that you won't be a slave. Nobody can give you freedom. Freedom is subjective anyway. You got to liberate yourself first. As within, so without. And anybody thinking that the spirit is not real, there's something wrong with you. People that think that spiritual work is invalid, there's really something wrong with you. I'm sorry. There's something wrong with your spirit, your mind, or something. Are you in a whole lot of pain? Because we're seeing the power work every day. Y'all can feel it right now coming off of me. I know you can. Because it's in this room. The spirit is moving. The ancestors are here. The ancestors are talking. I say and I give thanks for all of the energy that's coming through. Now, they spoke to these epileptic episodes as narcoleptic and temporal lobe epilepsy. But a lot of that still goes back to these gifts that we have. And she might have had those things. She might have had some of those. The narcoleptic didn't go all the way with the studies. I looked at some studies about her spells and stuff too that she was falling under. But what I will say is those visions were very real. Maybe that's the sacrifice that she had to endure in order to get to that part of herself. You know, they say our pineal gland is calcified. Maybe that's the space she had to go in frequency wise. And this woman was still able, she lived to be like 91 years old. She was able to have her own business, own her own property. Along her daddy had his own property too. That property is now part of the, not in Baltimore, but in the Dorchester County in Maryland. It's a part of their wildlife program or something. I don't know. The house was just found in 2020. Harriet Tubman's father's house still standing on the property, okay? And it was donated let me see. It was acquired by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So, you know, they were working and living in those marsh wetlands. So it's still there to this day. It was donated as an addition to Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge in Dorchester County. And they still found certain things in articles that was there from the 1800s. Brick was found, glass was found, dish fragments was found. They found a button, you know, all little scrappy things or whatever. But Harriet Tubman still went on to open up a house, her own business, an entrepreneur, you know, for misplaced slaves and the elderly. You know, so she did great things. And like I said, if she had that negative mindset or that mindset of just not being able to think or strategize or use her spiritual gifts, then, you know, they probably still, you know, it would have taken a lot longer, you know, to get off these, to get out of this system or to wake up. You know, and Nat Turner had gifts also. We're not talking about Nat today, but still Nat Turner also used that power of word. These people didn't have nothing else. And I'm telling you, when you in situations that desperate, you find God and spirituality real quick, or you find the devil, whatever one work for you, you know. But I just wanted to, again, like I say, pay homage to that aspect of Harriet Tubman. She was also a person that carried a sharpshooter rifle. So she had to be a hell of a shot to you know, go around. She had a shotgun, but she also had a sharpshooter, you know. So this was a cold chick. Like I said, I really wish I could have broke down the astrology of it, because everything that was where the world was set up at, it was all lining up for this revolution, for this energy to shift. We have some of those placements right now. You know, that's why it's so important to awaken those parts of ourselves that come together whatever we're bringing. Like, you know, we talk about everybody got something different, you know, but it ain't no need in being afraid, because you're going to need something, you know. But anyway, let me see if there's anything else about Harriet Tubman. If anybody got any questions about anything I said, comments, concerns, please leave them there in the comment section. And it was so much information. I've just been trying to find ways to, you know, like one of the ritualistic days that she escaped on was on Christmas. And I call it ritualistic because, you know, holidays are ritualistic. But she did, in 1854, she did a real smooth escape. I think she took her brothers or somebody like that. She was just playing chess with these fools. She was just playing chess with these fools, bouncing all around on them, you know. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut with a song. And we will be getting back to our regular programming after we do the Metaphysical Monday with Al and Nima. I will be looking for other people to come on the show. I do have some people lined up now. And that's really, you know, my way, like I said, of paying homage. I wanted to really just, you know, take a look at the type of, you know, energy and spirit that this woman had to have had to, you know, overcome the things that she did, all of the things she used, how tapped into the spirit her and her family was. I just think it's amazing. And I give thanks for my gifts, and everybody, you know, that have these gifts, you know, give thanks for those gifts. Be tapped into your stuff. Even the ability to be a revolutionary, even the ability to be able to strategize or to be able to understand the land or to navigate, all of those things. This woman had all of these things in one. But, you know, wherever we strong in, that's what we gotta, you know, we gotta pull on that. You know, and I'm not going to make my live too much longer. I do appreciate you guys tapping in. I do want to put on Big Mama Thornton. I'm going to take me a quick intermission, and, you know, you guys are welcome to listen, stay, ask questions, and then I'll be ending the live right after that. Okay.
Wait on and eat the rain. I want you to tell Pharaoh doing the good work. Because it's quite soon born alive. Just go down, Moses. Go down and lead your life. Tell on.
And that's Big Mama Thornton, Low Down Moses.
And the Lord spoke. Pretty Moses said to Moses, he said, tell Pharaoh to let my people go.
And thank you everybody that tuned into the live tonight. Give thanks for this energy. I'm giving thanks for the ancestors once more. I'll be back on Tarot Talk Thursday. We're going to let this song finish out.
Because this is the word of the good Lord. When he spoke to Moses, he said, tell him, smile at him. My word is true. Because what I say is the word. Because this is my land. This is my world. This is my world.
To everybody.
So I would like for you to listen to me one more again. I will say, go down, Moses, wait and Egypt, travel on, very long, my feet.
Dedicated to the Black Moses, Mighty Harriet. I do want to say one more thing about Harriet Tubman. I believe in Harriet Tubman so much. You know, it was a time when I was in my 20s and I was going through my conscious changes, my metaphysical changes, my spiritual changes. And I look at Harriet Tubman almost like a religion unto herself. That's how deep it was for me. I have venerated her to saint, you know, because all saints live human lives. And there's one extraordinary human being on this planet to me, and with courage and bravery and love for her people. It is Mighty Harriet, which is what I call her, the mother. And shoot, I would love to have her as part of my bloodline, but I'm just blessed and honored that we have her as part of our American legacy and a part of that heritage that, you know, whether we resonate with being Aboriginal or we resonate with being African slaves, you know, our people were, you know, it is written on plantations and reservations. So, you know, instead of looking for all of these differences, let's look at the struggle that we continue to fight as Black and brown people. And we've got to start activating the love again, you know. So I thank you again for watching. And for those of you who are into the readings and the messages, make sure you tap in on Tarot Talk Thursday.